Robinson Crusoe was born in 1632 in York, a city in England. He was from a well-off family. His father was a successful merchant, and his parents wanted Crusoe to live a comfortable life. They hoped he would become a lawyer or a businessman, someone who lived a safe, stable life in England. But Crusoe had different dreams. He was not interested in staying in one place or living a quiet life. He longed for adventure. He wanted to see the world, travel the seas, and experience life outside of England. Since Crusoe was young, he would often watch ships sailing away from the harbor. He imagined what it would be like to be on one of those ships, traveling to faraway places, meeting new people, and exploring unknown lands. But his parents, especially his father, were against it. His father warned him that a life at sea was dangerous. "Son," his father said, "a middle-class life is the best. It's safe and comfortable. You'll be happy and secure." Crusoe, however, wasn't convinced. He found the idea of staying in England for his whole life boring. When Crusoe was 19 years old, he made a decision. He didn't tell his parents, but he boarded a ship to London. This was the first step in his journey of adventure. He didn't know that it would also be the first step toward many hardships. As the ship sailed away, the weather changed. Soon, a terrible storm hit. The waves were huge, and the ship was thrown around like a toy. Crusoe was terrified. He thought he would die in the storm. He promised himself that if he survived, he would go home and never sail again. But as often happens with such promises, once the storm was over, he forgot about it. A few days later, Crusoe joined another ship, this time headed for Guinea in Africa. The journey seemed to go well at first. The sea was calm, and Crusoe felt excited about what lay ahead. However, trouble was just around the corner. The ship was attacked by Moorish pirates from North Africa. The pirates took Crusoe and his crewmates as prisoners. Crusoe was taken to a city called Salé in Morocco, where he was sold as a slave. For 2 long years, Crusoe lived as a slave. His master was a Moorish man, and Crusoe was forced to work for him. He had to take care of his master's boat and perform other chores. But Crusoe never stopped thinking about escaping. Every day, he watched the sea and thought about freedom. He knew that his chance would come. One day, Crusoe's master sent him out to fish with another slave, a boy named Xury. This was the moment Crusoe had been waiting for. While they were far out at sea, Crusoe overpowered Xury and took control of the boat. Xury, loyal to Crusoe, agreed to help him escape. Together, they sailed along the coast of Africa, looking for a friendly ship or land where they could be safe. After many days at sea, Crusoe and Xury were rescued by a Portuguese ship. The captain of the ship was kind and took them aboard. He helped Crusoe reach Brazil, where Crusoe started a new life. In Brazil, Crusoe became a plantation owner. He grew crops like sugarcane and tobacco, and he made a good living. But even though he had a stable life in Brazil, Crusoe wasn't completely happy. He still had the same longing for adventure. He wanted to see more of the world. After 4 years in Brazil, Crusoe made another bold decision. He joined a ship that was going to Africa to buy slaves for his plantation. This voyage would change his life forever. At first, the journey went smoothly, but after several days at sea, the weather turned bad. A powerful storm hit, and the ship was blown off course. The waves were so strong that the ship crashed into a reef near a deserted island. Crusoe was the only survivor. He swam to shore, exhausted and scared. When he woke up the next day, he realized that he was completely alone. Now stranded on the island, Crusoe had to think quickly. His first task was to gather supplies from the wrecked ship before it sank completely. He swam back to the ship several times, bringing back food, tools, weapons, and other useful items. He knew that these supplies would be essential for his survival. With the tools he had gathered, Crusoe built himself a shelter. He made a fence around it to protect himself from wild animals, even though he hadn't seen any dangerous creatures yet. He also made a bed from leaves and wood, trying to make his life as comfortable as possible. In the beginning, Crusoe felt hopeless. He missed his family, and he often thought about the life he could have had if he had listened to his father. But slowly, he adapted to life on the island. He learned how to hunt for food, how to fish, and how to grow crops. Crusoe found a freshwater stream, which was a huge relief. He also discovered fruit trees and wild goats that provided him with milk and meat. Crusoe didn't just focus on physical survival. He also tried to keep his mind occupied. He built furniture for his shelter, made pottery, and even created tools out of the materials he found on the island. He also kept a journal, writing down everything that happened to him each day. In this way, Crusoe kept track of time. He made a calendar marking each day that passed. Keeping busy helped Crusoe stay positive. One thing that gave Crusoe hope was his faith. He had found a Bible in the shipwreck, and he read it every day. He prayed to God, thanking him for sparing his life and asking for guidance. Crusoe became more religious as the years went by, and this faith helped him stay strong through the loneliness and hardship. As time passed, Crusoe became very skilled at living on the island. He even trained a parrot to talk, which gave him some company. He also domesticated goats and started farming, so he didn't have to rely on hunting all the time. Crusoe had become a self-sufficient man. One day, while walking along the beach, Crusoe made a terrifying discovery. He saw a single footprint in the sand. At first, he thought he was imagining it, but after closer inspection, he realized it was real. Crusoe became very frightened. He had lived alone on the island for so long that he wasn't prepared to meet other people, especially if they were dangerous. Crusoe thought the footprint might belong to cannibals, people who could harm him. From that day on, Crusoe was very careful. He reinforced his shelter and always carried his gun with him, ready to defend himself. After some time, Crusoe discovered that the island was visited occasionally by a group of cannibals. They would come to the island, bring prisoners, and kill them. Crusoe observed them from a distance, horrified by what he saw, but he did nothing. He didn't want to risk his life by confronting them. Several years later, Crusoe saw the cannibals again. This time, they had brought a prisoner to the island. Crusoe decided he had to act. He attacked the cannibals, killing 2 of them and scaring the others away. The prisoner was now free. Crusoe took him in and named him Friday, after the day he saved him. Friday became Crusoe's companion and friend. At first, they couldn't communicate because Friday didn't speak English, but Crusoe patiently taught him the language, and soon they were able to talk. Friday was very loyal to Crusoe. He helped with hunting, farming, and building. Together, they built a better life on the island. Crusoe also taught Friday about Christianity, and Friday accepted the faith. Now Crusoe was no longer alone. He had a friend who shared his life on the island. After several more years, a ship arrived near the island. Crusoe saw that the ship was in trouble. There was a mutiny on board, and the crew had taken control from the captain. The mutineers planned to leave the captain and his loyal men on the island. Crusoe saw this as his opportunity to finally leave. He and Friday helped the captain regain control of the ship by defeating the mutineers. In return, the captain offered to take Crusoe and Friday back to England. After 28 years, 2 months, and 19 days on the island, Robinson Crusoe finally left. He returned to England as a much older and wiser man. When he arrived, Crusoe found that his family had thought he was dead. His parents had passed away, and his brothers had moved on. Crusoe also discovered that his plantation in Brazil had made him very wealthy. Although Crusoe was happy to be back in England, he had changed. He had lived through many hardships and learned important lessons about faith, survival, and friendship. He never forgot his time on the island and the life he had built there with his own hands. And though his life was no longer filled with the same excitement and danger, Robinson Crusoe had become a wiser, more grateful man.